Hey everybody, Cole here with Classic Mini DIY, and on today's episode we are following up with the head refurbishment that we sent off to 7 Mini Parts. So, stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by you. That's right. Every single episode created on Classic Mini DIY is made with the help of our patrons and our long-term part sponsor, 7 Mini Parts. If you want to see more mini stuff and more videos in the future, please consider supporting the channel on patreon.com/Classic Mini DIY or by checking out some of my awesome merch like t-shirts, stickers, and all sorts of other really cool stuff at merch.classicminidiy.com. Alright, let's get back to the episode. Now, in case you missed the first episode of this series, that will be popping up in the corner. I took the head off my Bad Wolf engine and was bringing it through the process of getting it refurbished. For the supercharged build, I was using a slightly different specification cylinder head, one that was sent to me by Stuart over at VMAX. So the head that came off my Mini, the one that came off the existing Bad Wolf engine, no longer was going to be used. So I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity to restore that head, refurbish it, and then we can sell it on and get it to somebody who really is going to, use it and can appreciate it on their engine. So we started the process by removing the valves and removing the valve springs and having a look at the valve seats so we could assess the current state of them, how much damage there was, all that. Well, after getting those out, what I realized was the valve seats were pretty chewed up. They were just, rough. They needed to be replaced. And some of the valve guides themselves, the pieces that actually have the valve moving up and down, those were actually broken. I don't know how or when they broke, but what that meant is that it needed to be professionally refurbished. Well, that is where 7 Mini Parts came in. 7 Mini Parts, as you guys probably know, are my long-term part sponsor, and I sent them a message and said, hey, this cylinder head is in rough shape. Will you guys help me out? So one quick look, let's have a look at what the head used to look like. Now we've got the head back from 7 Mini Parts. You can see I am mocking up a set of MED roller rockers on that head, but it is back, it is beautiful, and it is going to be an awesome addition to somebody's engine. Now let's take a second and look at the cylinder head a little bit more closely and see all the different pieces that they refurbished, all the pieces that were updated, and the specs of all the new equipment that's been installed on this head. Now, unsurprisingly, this head is basically a work of art. 7 Mini Parts did an incredible job on this head. I mean, they really went above and beyond with this thing. As you saw in the previous clips, they installed double valve springs. They installed all new valves. They kept the size that I had on this head already, which was a slightly oversized valve. But even better, they drilled 2 new holes right here. So now this is an 11 stud head, which means you're going to have more clamping force, and this is going to be able to go onto a bigger range of engines, meaning you can use this in a boosted application, high compression applications. Really, this head can take anything at this point. Additionally, you might have seen on the original head, there were some square plugs that were poking out the fronts of the head here. This is originally a smog head made for the North American market. Again, this was from an Austin, America. It wasn't originally in a Mini. And these smog ports, they took the original plugs out because they were kind of janky, they weren't that great, and replaced them with really nice actual plugs for these smog ports. So there's no weird, introduction of air that doesn't need to be in there, blah, 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 blah. Smog ports are filled. Now I want to cover one thing in this episode. I didn't touch on this in my supercharged build. However, it is something that needs to be done. These are a set of 1.5 roller rockers from MED. Now, these are widely regarded as some of the best roller rockers on the market, and I wanted to take an opportunity with the head out like this so I could show you guys one of the most important things that you can do when installing roller rockers like this. When you get a set of nice roller rockers, what you're also going to receive in the mail, most likely, is a set of shims. These shims are used to create a little bit of lift on the actual pedestals that hold the roller rockers in place. And you might be confused, well, why do you need something like that? Why do you need something to lift up the roller rockers? Well, let's get a little bit closer here. So now what you can see here is we're looking down the actual rocker assembly. And with roller rockers, the way that these work is that as the push rod on the back side here pushes up on this actual rocker, this front end gets pushed down and opens up that valve, allowing air in or out depending on which valve you're going to. And while it's doing this, while it's moving up and down, the roller is rolling and it's actually moving back and forth on your actual valve. So at full lift, the valve is being pushed down and the roller is actually kind of moving a little bit farther back on the valve. And at full decompression, basically with the valve spring completely without tension, the roller is kind of moving out farther away. It's very, very small movements, but that's where these shims come in, because at exactly halfway through that lift, you want your roller rocker to sit perfectly in the middle. So that means that while it's sitting like this, it's sitting a little closer to the front of the valve. And when it's at full lift, it's sitting a little farther back. But during the middle, right in the middle of that lift, you want this roller to sit right in the middle of the valve. And now, there's no way for me to exactly show this to you while the head is off of the car like this and we don't have the push rods in, because we're not going to get a good example of full lift, but that's the general concept here. And I really wanted to touch on this because a lot of times it's something that's overlooked when you're installing roller rockers. A lot of people think, well, pop my roller rockers on there, boom, instant performance gain, and that's not exactly the case. It needs a little bit more consideration than that. So that's going to wrap up this episode of Classic Mini DIY. I wanted to get this covered about the shimming of the rocker assembly here. This is something that's sometimes overlooked, but does need to be done. There are a few other things you need to do when setting up roller rockers, which I did not cover in this episode. Those are more related to when you're actually installing the head on the engine. So if you're looking for a complete list of those are on 7 Mini Parts website. On all of their roller rocker products, it shows the list of the things that need to be taken into consideration when installing these. Now that also brings me to one more thing. I want to say a huge thank you to 7 Mini Parts. They did such an incredible job with this head, which is not surprising at all. They're a set of professionals over there, and I want to say a huge thank you to them. If you guys have any sort of machine work that you need done, any sort of gearbox rebuilds, engine builds, anything like that, head over to the link in my description and check out 7 Mini. They do all of this stuff and much more, and they do it to an incredible standard. I guarantee that you guys will not be disappointed if you get some work done by 7 Mini Parts. Now you might be curious what's going to be happening with this head, and for right now I am going to be wrapping this up and holding on to it for a little bit. We're going to be doing another build here in the future, and I'm going to hold on to this and use it for that. So for now it's going to stay safe, wrapped up, and in storage until I'm ready to install that on the new engine block. But with that, that's going to end this episode, and until I see you guys again, and until I see you guys on the supercharged build, enjoy those minis and motor on.